Hey guys, welcome back. This is episode 17 of New York and Beyond with me, Christina Kremidas. And in this episode, we are talking all about the art of being able to get calm and create space for self care and inspiration amidst our hectic, busy lifestyles. So stay tuned, we're covering everything here. Welcome back, guys. Thank you so much for being here for another episode of New York and Beyond. We have Kayla Kleinman on with us in this episode. She runs the lifestyle blog Kayla in the City, where she helps her audience uncover their true, authentic selves. She teaches yoga and bar in New York City. She's an overall awesome person, and she is going to be bringing us such incredible insights in today's episode. Before I bring her in, don't forget to make sure that you guys are subscribed. If you enjoy this content, your subscription means so much to me. It helps the podcast player, the YouTube app, recognize that this is valuable content, and it will help it reach more people. And on New York and Beyond, we are forming a community of people who are leveling up in every way. This is a growth-oriented community. We are expanding our minds together. We are learning new things together. This show features experts in various industries. Those experts are 99% of the time fellow New Yorkers. So be sure that you are a part of the community and that you are not going to miss future episodes. So with that said, let's talk to Kayla. Hi, Kayla.
Hi. Oh my God. I am so excited for this. Thank you so much for having me.
So excited to talk to you today. I feel like you bring such an interesting and different perspective to the topics that we're going to be talking about on this episode. So can't wait. Let's jump right in. Give our audience a quick little intro. Let them know what you're up to.
Yeah. So my name is Kayla. I am a yoga teacher. I joke for people that hate yoga, essentially. I also teach bar at the Bar Method in New York City. And then I also am a lifestyle blogger over at Kayla in the City. And Kayla in the City is a lifestyle blog for millennial women, all about helping people be their most authentic, shameless, happy self, essentially.
Love what you're doing so much, and the audience too. As we talk more, they're going to be so in love with you if they're not already. Like, honestly, you're doing such cool things, and I feel like what you're doing is definitely unique. You bring a really unique approach to it. So to start, you say you teach yoga for people who hate yoga, and I it's so funny that you said that. Can you tell us, how did you find yoga? Because I feel like your story is really cool, and like for any doubters out there, I do feel like your story is going to totally resonate. So share like how you found it, what did you, and really like what it does for you.
Sure. So if you don't know me, you should know to start that I am a New Yorker through and through. I am uptight, I am intense, I am type A, and I feel like that has kind of always been who I am for better or for worse. So I was first introduced to yoga in high school. I had a kind of young, cool, hip phys ed teacher who brought almost a group fitness type of element into gym, which for me was a game changer. I had always been very active because I grew up dancing and performing, but not athletic at all. Like, still not athletic, coordinated, any of that. Never, ever, ever wanted to play a team sport in my life. So, doing this kind of group fitness approach to gym just totally made me realize that, like, oh, like, I do enjoy being active and moving my body in this way. So, one of those units was yoga. And at the time, I was like, okay, like, I don't hate this. I like it a lot more than dodgeball, and I like it a lot more than like having to run around a soccer field or something. But I have distinct memories. I had calculus after gym class, and like being in Savasana, like thinking about equations and like reviewing for a calc test that I had next period. So, like, I enjoyed it, but I feel like I was still kind of figuring out yoga and the practice. So I'm really grateful for that as an introduction because I think it definitely helped me get the basics down so that going forward, when I heard down dog, up dog, that stuff, I was like, oh yeah, like I know what those shapes are in my body, even if I'm a little rusty or might not have the full idea to it. So then when I went off to college, I was in New York City, which obviously tons of yoga studios, even back in the day when I was in college. And people were kind of constantly telling me, like, you should really do yoga as kind of one, I was not very flexible and I was taking a lot of dance classes in college, and two, being the intense, uptight New Yorker. So I think it was people's way of telling me to chill out, which I did need, and I probably still do need to some extent. So I take random yoga classes in New York City, and I liked it. I still kind of did that thing during Savasana where I would like think about all the other things on my to-do list. And I'm gonna be honest, it was just like challenging as a whole for me being that kind of stillness when I'm such a go, go, go person. So while I was like, oh, I get this is like good for me, I really struggled with it. But I think it was my senior year of college. I was like, this is going to be the year that I like learn to love yoga. Like I literally made it a goal for myself. And I just kind of committed that I was going to take 1 to 2 yoga classes a week. I was going to kind of shop around the city to find a studio that I loved and that like kind of vibed with me. And sure enough, I like finally kind of found that groove and started to just noticed that it definitely was starting to give me these tools to feel just that little less intense, that little less stressed out and like at my peak. So finally fell in love with yoga, kind of kept up here and there with the practice. And then about 5 years ago now, I decided to become a yoga teacher so I could hopefully inspire people that maybe don't think yoga is for them or who are intense, uptight humans as well, that they can benefit from yoga and give it a chance too.
That's super cool. And I definitely relate with how you're describing yourself as that. I don't know if I would say I'm a type A personality, but I definitely don't stop. I'm always doing something. I'm like honestly not even calm, like unless I'm doing something. So I feel like your perspective is just so interesting because I would love to know how you like really chipped away at that mindset and allowed over time for that to really work for you as far as that relaxation aspect of yoga, clearing your mind. But do you feel that since practicing yoga, you see and deal with daily frustrations differently?
I definitely have noticed a difference for myself, and some of it is subtle difference, and some of it is kind of bigger stuff that I realized. I have this like very specific memory of being in college, and I was waiting for the subway, probably to go to Times Square to like see her show or something, and I paused, and I was like, I just feel quiet, which sounds weird to say, but I felt like for so long my brain had just been like buzzing essentially and just so much outside noise and stress and intensity. And I was like, oh, like I just feel quiet in this moment, which was a weird thing to think and say. And I was like, oh, like I think this is from yoga and just like being that much more in tune. I always talk about in my yoga classes that I think yoga, what we do in like a yoga class, which is the physical practice of yoga, is really just giving us the tools to apply that in the outside world. Like being able to do a down dog, cool, whatever, that's great. But like being able to apply the breath work, the connection to your body, the mindfulness outside of the yoga mat, the yoga mat, the yoga studio, whatever you want to think of it as, like that's actually where the magic of yoga is. So for me, I feel like I noticed that I suddenly had this like tool belt of things to do during the intense moments, during the times when I was like feeling myself spinning out of control. I'm someone who unfortunately has TMJ related issues that I was just born with a jaw joint that simply doesn't work. And while that's probably always going to be something I unfortunately deal with because it's my anatomy, I can like literally have so much more range of motion in my jaw. I think just from releasing that overall intention and not being like in this constant gripping, intense set. And that's not even something that I was like actively working on, but I'm just like, oh wow. And I think about where I was at 10 years ago. I'm like, yeah, I like literally have more range of motion in my jaw. I'm not gonna like pretend or like guarantee that that will happen with yoga, but for me, it's like the things like that that I'm like, oh wow, just like having this thing that allowed me to soften even just a little bit made such a difference in my life.
Wow, how cool. Is there anything that you could share with us when you say like you learned different ways that you can try to like find, firstly, noticing that you are in that gripping state of, you know, your mind constantly buzzing. I think we all relate to that. Do you have anything that you're able to share with us about the things that you did learn over time about how to quiet that when it's happening?
Yeah, so I actually have a favorite breathing exercise that is easy, it's subtle. Like I used to joke that you can do it on your desk or on the subway and like no one will like look at you and think you're weird or anything. It's 4-7-8 breathing. So you inhale for a count of 4, hold your breath for a count of 7, and then exhale for a count of 8. Repeat it. I usually do about 4 or 5 times, maybe more if it requires or if I have time. And whether it's like your mind is buzzing before falling asleep, you're running late and the subway just won't arrive, or you're just like having that moment of like, I don't know what to do, it just like suddenly helps your breath kind of recalibrate. It slows down your breathing, which is really quite powerful. Kind of if you think about when we hyperventilate, we're like breathing fast and kind of like, but not getting a full intake. But when we pause and like really work on that intake intentionally and slow breathing out, then our literal nervous system starts to chill out essentially. So that's just kind of one of my favorite little tools of like, you don't need to go like drop everything that you're doing and like do a yoga pose. Like that's great. Like to hit a child's pose if you have the space and it wouldn't be weird. But if you're just like, I just need like a quick little fix, that 4-7-8 breathing, I think is so powerful and just like a great tool to always have in your back pocket.
So cool. Thank you so much for sharing that. And what I love about talking with you is you have such a different vibe that from what you would think. Like when I say we're going to talk to a yoga teacher, you think you're going to see like, you know, the Zen music in the background, like you're going to have
Yeah.
like prayer hands. And you're
Yeah.
like a straight up go like New Yorker, like getting to business, like running from one place to another. So I feel like because of that, you're very relatable. It's like, okay, we're all here rushing like crazy people, like chickens without heads. And it's not, you know, you intentionally are making these changes and it's doable for us because
Mhm.
you're doing it.
Exactly. And I think that was kind of why I wanted to be a yoga teacher. I've been in the fitness industry for a while now, first as a personal trainer and group fitness related. And a few years ago, I had just lost my job and I was kind of to figure out what I was going to do for the summer before I was starting a grad school program. And I said to my parents, I was like, I want to do yoga teacher training. And they were just like, really? Like, why? Like the personal trainer thing made sense to them, the group fitness made sense to them, and they're like, really? Like yoga? And I was like, yeah, like I think I can essentially offer something that I wasn't really seeing from yoga teachers. Like I'm not that like inhale in through your nose. Like I can't even do it when I'm like actually being me because that's just not who I am. I am intense and uptight and a New Yorker and I have a loud mouth essentially and I like to play fun music, but I am also really passionate about having people give yoga a chance even if they've sworn it off, even if, as I said earlier, they hate yoga. To me, I think there's a lot of power in yoga, and I've experienced it firsthand, even if it does not come easy for me as a practice. So I'm glad to hear that it shines through because I don't know, to me, there's nothing that makes me happier than like a friend or a follower saying, like, you inspire me to try yoga. And I can't even tell you how much it's helped me and the difference that's made. And that to me is like, oh my God, I like that. That's exactly what I love to hear is like inspiring someone to try yoga, even if they've always sworn it off or they're like, it's not for me. So that is what I'm trying to do. So I'm happy to hear it shines through.
It's shining through. It's definitely shining through. Is there any one particular yoga philosophy that you feel made the biggest difference in your life?
Yeah, so in yoga philosophy, there are these things, the yamas and the niyamas, which are kind of these rules and things to live by and apply to your practice. So one of my favorite ones is Santosha, which translates to contentment. I feel like it's been a really powerful word in my life over the years. As I've said, I'm definitely this like go, go, go person. I am not patient. I like want things when I want them. And I'm sure many people that are listening can feel that same way. And this idea of contentment, I think we don't talk about contentment enough as a whole in a society. That to me is different than not going for something or just like waiting and seeing. But I think there is something to be said about being like, where I am at right now is powerful as well. Even if I'm not where I want to be going, I can also find happiness and just comfort in where I'm at right now. I think of when I was in grad school, I was like, so ready to be done with grad school, kind of pretty much from the get go. And I had to keep reminding myself that idea of contentment, of Santosha, of like, I can also find happiness and something, some kernel of joy where I'm at right now, and not just constantly be thinking about that next thing, that next thing I want to achieve, that next hurdle, even in a yoga practice, that like pose that I really wish I could achieve, instead being like, you know what, like where I'm at right now, that is great as well, rather than just like constantly trying to achieve that next thing.
Yes. Okay. Thank you so much because I love that specifically for this audience because this audience is always looking to level up in every way. We're always looking for the next thing and it's a lot. It's really it takes a lot of energy to always be worried about where you want to be, where you're going, how you're going to get there, where you're going next. And I completely agree with you. I feel like there's a lot of power in loving where you are right now and believing that where you are right now is exactly where you should be.
Yeah.
I love
And
that so
it's,
much.
yeah. And it's not to say, like, obviously, I am a very goal oriented person. So it's not to be like, banish the goals. But I think exactly what you said of it takes a lot of energy, and it's kind of forgetting to be present truly when you're just constantly thinking about that next thing.
Yeah, I think that too. How often do we not even take a second to appreciate a goal that we just last month didn't know if we were even going to achieve?
Oh, yeah.
Right? I mean,
Constant. Yeah.
we're constantly evolving and we're always worried about on to the next. And it is nice to take a moment. And even if, right, I mean, I don't think any of us are who we think our ultimate, goal could be. I don't know if any of us are there yet, but how lucky are we to be right here, right now? Like, able to act, able to do, able to trust our instincts and have these goals. I mean, it's beautiful to even just be sitting here with those goals.
It's so true.
Yeah, I really love that that's what you mentioned for us, honestly, especially because of this audience. I think it's just so, so true. So, beyond yoga now, even, you are the whole package. I love when people show their multi-dimensional personalities in their online presence. That's exactly what you're doing. You don't just teach yoga and bar. You share tons of New York City lifestyle content on your blog and on your Instagram. You really have such a well-rounded presence and you're kind of like hitting everything. It's just so cool. How do you manage all of it?
Thank you. I don't know if I do is the joke, I would say, and I'm sure most people in this scenario would agree as well. I think my like secret is a lot of to-do lists and a lot of coffee, essentially, nothing that someone else can't do, and really just like a healthy dose of passion. I have always been someone who is multi-passionate in the sense that as much as I like wish I could be like pointed and focused on like just one thing, that's just not realistic to the kind of person I am. Like, I feel like there'll always be other parts of me that I'm like, but I really want to work on this as well. So I've just kind of embraced that that's who I am, what I'm going to do. So for me, it's always kind of an ebb and a flow. I feel like before the pandemic, I was really teaching as my main gig, that was where I was focusing a lot of my energy, and probably only about like 10% of my energy towards blogging and social media and all of that stuff. Previously, it had been like a little bit more of the social media presence. Now, since the pandemic, that's swung a little bit more towards focusing on content creation and yoga as more like, I don't know, like 40% or something like that. I don't know the exact percentages if I like think about my time. So I think for me, I've just always been someone that like if I want to do something, I'm going to find the time to do it. It might mean having to figure out like when I could squeeze it, what other things are not serving me potentially. But I've definitely always been someone who has side hustles and various passions and things that I just want to do.
Yeah, totally. Do you feel like this year, especially with the pandemic situation, do you feel like it allowed you to kind of like assess where you were putting your energy and decide really what was fulfilling for you and what you wanted to keep giving energy to?
Yeah, I feel like I'm sure many people can relate to this. Just like I don't know if it's a wake up call, but just prior to the pandemic, I was teaching 16 yoga and bar classes a week, from anywhere from 1 to 5 classes in a day, usually starting as early as 6 a.m. to teach, and like sometimes not getting home till 10 and bopping around the city for all of that. And I love what I do. I was so thrilled that I could do what I love. And I had wanted for so long to have teaching be my main gig. It would have been like since I graduated college essentially. And like it was finally happening years and years later. So I loved what I was doing. But when the pandemic hit and my entire industry shut down, I was just kind of like, okay, like what do we do now? What are we left with? And in the beginning, like, oh my God, it was really hard. And if I'm going to be honest, like I just gone through a breakup and I was like, wow, I was like keeping myself so busy to not experience all of the feelings I was feeling and to like avoid all of that, which I think in anyone who's that kind of person who's just like, especially in an industry where like I could just keep on picking up classes to teach, like, oh, you need a class sub, like I'll do it. I don't want to like have moment to breathe and like process my feelings. So in March 2020, when everything shut down, I was just like, whew, I don't think I realized how, I think I knew, but I wasn't like admitting how exhausted I really was from the hustle, and how how much of a beating my body had taken from teaching hot yoga and just like being on my feet for that many hours a day. Every morning I would wake up and like make sure my voice was working because I was just talking for hours and hours every day. So it definitely forced me to pause and evaluate what was working, what isn't working. I think it's interesting now because we are building our way back up to normal. Like, I think in my head at that point, I had this image that like one day, like a button would be pressed and just like everything would go back to normal. But obviously, that's like not what it's been like. It's been a slow progress. So for me, it definitely forced me to pause and be like, okay, like, what do I actually want to do going forward? Like, something I'm really craving is more flexibility in my schedule and ability to, when things are safer and slightly more normal, to be able to travel a lot more or not feel like I have to just be in New York City for all time. I definitely want to be taking better care of my body. I don't know if I really want to go back to waking up at 5 a.m. every day of the week. So I feel like I'm definitely in that figuring out stage of like, what does that next phase look like? And the pandemic 100% forced me to like pause and listen, which I I think all of us should be doing, not when it's a pandemic, but I'm sure I'm not the only one that like had that wake up of like, oh, these things were not working from life before, and I'm not necessarily looking to go back to exactly what things were previously.
Yeah, I think that's so interesting and I completely relate as well. I think that we've talked about on the show before too about it almost felt like we were like on a hamster wheel sort of, you know? I mean,
Yeah.
we were just going to a certain extent as mindful as we all want to be all the time and wanted to be then as well. Definitely to a certain extent going through the motions for some things. Like there were just some things that were a given that once the everything got crazy in 2020, we're just gone. And you're like,
Mhm.
whoa, that didn't even need to be here. I thought it was so important and it didn't even need to be here.
Oh yeah.
It's crazy. But I
Yeah.
think that we are all going to be very selective. I hope that we're going to be selective about what we bring back into our life as we get back to quote normal, you know?
Mhm.
Yeah.
Yeah, I've been thinking a lot about it, and I don't know if I know exactly what that looks like yet, but I'm sure for many of us, especially if you are in an industry that got shut down and is still not back to full capacity, I think for many of us, it's like giving us that moment to be like, oh, what was working and was not working? How do I change that?
Totally, totally. I completely agree with you. And to be able to try to take at least some, I mean, as dismal as it was, to feel like you can at least take a little bit of learning or positivity from that experience
Hmm.
and kind of bring it forward. I think it's crazy, just our age group in general. I mean, I feel like young entrepreneurs and things like that who experience this now, what an experience it was to live through as a young business owner, as a young entrepreneur. Like, oh my goodness, it's just I
Hmm.
feel like not that, I mean, it hurt a lot of us, it hurt a lot of people, but I do think that we have a little element of resilience and an element of we can make it through, you know, that will be with us for the rest of our lives.
Hmm. I think that's true. Something I've been thinking about is the potential creativity that has come from this time as far as I know in the fitness industry specifically, how many people were like, you know what, I'm gonna like figure this out and go out on my own. Even for me, that I was not teaching my own classes previously, I like never would have even thought of it. But I was like, okay, we're gonna like figure this out. And like, what does my yoga class without like rules and a studio system to adhere to? Like, what does that look like? So I think in theater, we oftentimes would talk about this. I don't know if I've said that. My background is in theater, way back when. It's like when you put these like constructs and like a limit on something, it actually helps breed creativity in a weird way. And I think in the last year, in so many industries, because we were so limited to what we could do safely, it like forced us to like totally think outside of the box and find new ways to do the thing that we do or get the outlets that we crave and love. Is it the same or as great as normal times? Yes and no. I think it depends on what it is. To me, like I I miss live theater more than anything. I don't think like a Zoom thing can relate. But in the fitness world, I think it's really cool that so many people are like, you know what? Like working out at home, I've learned to really like it and like embrace the convenience of it. For me, teaching from home, I'm like, there's something really nice about just like open up my laptop and being like, let's go, here we are, and to not have the cost of renting a space or figuring all of that out, to just be like, cool, just like get a Zoom Pro account and you're good to go.
Totally true. I think that's unbelievable and so, so true. And such a good reminder for us for the future, too. I feel like in the past and in the future, it's really a matter of being intentional, right? About what we're spending our time on. And I still think to such a great extent, the second that there is, like you mentioned, when there's an existing construct in place, you tend to just by default go with it without really thinking about if it works for you. And I
Hmm.
feel like, you know, if we can take something away from this conversation, it's like, always question the construct, right? Like, is this working for me or does it just already exist made by someone with different goals and a different lifestyle than me? It's interesting because I worked in an office environment before switching into real estate, and that was one of the things that I switched into real estate for, was because there was so much process. And it was like, this is how we do it. And I'm like, okay, but it doesn't really work. It
Yeah.
doesn't work well. Can I like go around this person and just get that done because I have the ability to do that? And they're like,
But
no,
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 no, no.
no.
Nope, you have to do the
Yep.
process. And I'm like, this is insane. Like, it drove me so crazy. I was
Yeah.
like, I'm going to switch into a completely commission based structure just because I need to be able to navigate myself, you know? And
Yeah.
I feel like a lot of people relate to that. Same for you.
Hmm.
It's so interesting. So, do you have any? I mean, as we talk to about things getting busier and things getting back and running, do you have any self care rituals that you like doing that allow you to take some time for yourself?
Yeah. So my two big I guess three big things. One is going for walks. I feel like I've always been a big fan of going for walks, getting outside for preferably at least an hour during the day with no like real destination in mind. Even before the pandemic, that was really important to me as my like me time. And I feel like that's oftentimes where I like get my thoughts and my ideas or like process thoughts and ideas. So that's one of them for sure. I'm a really big fan of journaling. I wish I could say I have like a very ritualistic practice about it, but for me, it definitely comes and goes. So, one thing I really like to do is morning pages, which essentially is at the beginning of the day. Usually for me, once I've like done my workout while I'm drinking my coffee, I do either it's 3 pages. For me, sometimes what I do is just like set a timer for 10 minutes because I'm like, you know what? Like, I need to make this compact and like get on with the day and just like kind of stream of conscious, just like anything that's floating around in there and just like getting it all out on the page. It doesn't have to be for anyone's eyes, it doesn't have to be for me like content creation for the blog or Instagram. It's just like a way to get out the ideas. If you're looking for journaling prompts, I have a ton of them on my blog, shameless self plug. So go to Kayla in the City, and then I think there is a journaling tab. If not, if you search journaling, I done at the end of every year, I usually do like a X amount of one day per month journaling prompts. So like every day in December we did journaling. But even though it's not it's the middle of the year right now, like those are still really great prompts to kind of use as a check-in to be like, what is working, what isn't working, what am I looking to focus more on? So that can be a really helpful place if you're just like, what do I start with? Journaling prompts, I think, can be really helpful just to give you something to jump off of. And my last one is reading, which I talk about a lot on my blog and on social media as well. I am a really big proponent of reading for joy. I'm always really embarrassed to say this, but like I don't really read a lot of self-help books or like self-improvement books. I definitely went through that phase of my life, but now I'm just like honestly, I just want to like read like gooey brain candy, kind of the equivalent of like people who watch Real Housewives. I feel like I read that in book form a lot of the time just because I'm like, you know what? It's like my time to shut down and not be so focused on bettering myself and like, how can I apply this to work and this and that? So for me, I feel like reading has become a really big part of my self care practice and also a really big part of like getting me off of technology because otherwise I would probably just be scrolling social media while I watch TV essentially.
It's so, so true. And this is a problem that I have too. And not too, because you're doing great with it, but this is a problem that I have. And it's that I love sitting down with a book. I love taking the time. It's funny because you say your books are like your escape, right?
Yeah.
Taking the time, taking the walk. And you know too that during those moments is when you're going to have your good ideas.
Oh yeah, it's the shower ideas always. Like I have my best ideas in the shower because you're just
Yes,
like
you do.
with like in college theater major, I would like be working on there was a class I took that was like creating original work. So every week I would have to like put up a one woman show essentially. It stressed me out beyond belief. And I would just be like, I'm gonna wait for my shower and the idea will come for me. And I was just like hoping that my showers would just like give me the inspiration. And like sometimes they did. Obviously you can't just like count on that. But I think there's so much truth in whatever way it is that you can create space for that. I think for many of us, like that only time is in the shower. And I feel like I noticed that at the beginning of the pandemic when suddenly, this is weird to say, but my showers were so much longer because prior to the pandemic, I was like getting home at 10 p.m. from teaching hot yoga all day. And I was like, oh, I just need to like quickly rinse off as fast as I can so I don't feel disgusting, but go to bed because I'm waking up at 5 a.m. So, but then pandemic hit and I was like, well, I have nothing to do. I'm gonna like take this really long shower and use all of the fabulous products. And I was like, oh yeah, like this is really nice. And like you get those ideas. So it's like hard to convince yourself of that though, of like, oh, you need to like create space to be more productive, essentially.
Yes. Okay, so maybe you can help me and the audience. Firstly, it's funny because you mentioned the long shower. I took the first bath that I've taken in my adult life since being 4 years old. I took it during the pandemic and I was like, I felt like I was breaking the rules. I was like, this is something that people do. Like, who do people think they are? This is so
Yeah.
nice. It's actually hilarious, but okay. And I also have this meditation. It's about 20 minutes long, so it's kind of on the longer side, but
Mm.
I used to be really good about doing it every day. When I first switched into real estate, I did it every single day, and I truly believe it's why I was successful. And you get these ideas, right? During this times that you create space. I believe it 100%, but at the end of the day, I'm like, I didn't make time for it. Like, I just don't make time for it. So, what can you say to me and people like me? Like, we know that it's going to be helpful, but we also feel like we have to get done all the other little things that if they don't get done, we're going to fall behind. Like, is there
Mhm.
something you can tell us to help us?
I mean, that's like therein lies the challenge in life. I think for me, I like live and die by my to-do list. Like that's just the way I am. That's just how otherwise I feel too stressed if I don't have it written down. So I like literally put on my to-do list. I call it my silly little walk right now. Like I literally have silly walk on my to-do list and it's like a thing that I want to get done. For me, I've kind of figured out I am fortunate that I have a pretty flexible schedule in the sense that I'm not chained to my desk 9 to 5. So I imagine for everyone, it really depends on your schedule. I am single and don't have children, so like I have full free will of my life these days. So in that sense, I'm definitely very privileged and lucky to just be like, yeah, I can like take my silly little walk kind of whenever I want. But it's figuring out when that time is for you and also reminding yourself that it doesn't have to be like a 2 hour long walk or a full hour long in the bath. Like it can be a 10-minute meditation. It can be 10 minutes of journaling. And it's kind of looking at your schedule depending on what way you organize yourself, whether you're a time blocking kind of person or a, like go by meetings and this and that of like finding where that like little kernel of time is for you. Maybe it's the time that like you're not your most like productive to do the like brain work stuff. So for me, whenever I like start to feel myself losing it, that I'm like, oh my God, I'm like not concentrating anymore and I like can't think of another word to write on a blog post. I'm like, you know what? Time for our silly little walk. We're going to go outside, we're going to listen to a podcast or play cheesy music and just like go for a while. And it's kind of finding what time that is for you. In the summer, I really like to do it in the morning sometimes and like get my iced coffee. In the winter, it was just like too cold. And I was like, you know what? I'm going to wait till the sun is out at 2 in the afternoon. So I think it's really just about finding, even if it's just like a little kernel of time and like setting it aside. And I think just as a whole, just like reminding ourselves that we do not need to be productive every moment of the day, which like, my God, I need to remind myself that every day, like I need to practice what I preach. But I think it's really important to remember that of like, yeah, is my walk the most like is it going to be making me the most money of anything I do in my day? No, but like, is it really beneficial to my overall health and well being? Yes. Is it sometimes where I get an idea of like, ooh, this is like a blog post that I really want to write or a fun yoga class that I want to teach? Yeah. So I don't know. I think it's just like finding the space. Also, if you have children or a lot of other responsibilities, I feel you. So maybe it's finding just 10 minutes to pause, put on a 10-minute long, like chill spa song, and just like close your eyes, hand on your heart, hand on your belly, breathe. Like maybe it's as simple as that.
Thank you so much. I feel like that was actually really, really not actually. I knew you were going to bring something amazing to us, but I feel like that actually really did resonate with me. And you know what? It is as important as the other silly action items on my to-do list. I mean, it's actually really so true. And I used to be good about time blocking and it's funny you have like 3 solid, really amazing months. And then this week I haven't time blocked. So I need to do it. I need to time
Yeah,
block. And you include your little self-care, few minutes to 30 minutes in the calendar. Like it's just as
yeah,
important as anything else. I love that. I think that's amazing. And it's such a good reminder. And it is going to help you with your health in the long run and keep you sane. It's completely true.
for sure.
So back to business. We took like 2 seconds. We did take our 2 seconds about talking about self-care and we're back to business. But what challenges have you faced as you've worked to build your brand and build your business in New York City?
Yeah, I'd say a lot of things. The biggest one is probably just self-doubt. And I'm sure anyone who kind of is going out and doing their own thing can relate. Especially for me at the beginning of the pandemic, I was really hesitant to teach classes on Zoom and do my own thing, kind of in this like, like why would anyone want to take my class? And like, oh, there's so much out there, like it's too saturated. Why should I do my own thing? So I like really procrastinated on it and didn't get going with a consistent rhythm until more recently. And while I don't like fault myself, and I think the beginning of the pandemic also like, my God, we were all like also figuring out just kind of getting our, I don't know, like figuring it out. And I was very big on reminding people that it's a pandemic, not a productivity contest. I think I just had to be like, you know what? Like the worst thing that could happen is no one shows up, but you know what? Like it's not the end of the world. It's okay. Like you're not gonna die or like you hadn't put much money into this, so it's not like you're gonna suddenly like be a failure. So I think that for sure. Even I've been blogging for I guess like 9.5 years now, and there's definitely times where it's like putting yourself out there is really scary, especially if you're talking about something more personal or something maybe like a little bit controversial or a little bit passionate that not everyone will necessarily have that exact same point of view as you. It's like really scary, but I don't know, for me, it's like I have to believe that the importance of what I'm saying is there and it should be out there, and that am I'm offering a voice, be it as a yoga teacher, as a blogger, that is not already out there, and that my perspective is unique. So, like, why not me as well? I think also to go to say, just like financially, that like New York City is an expensive city. Being a yoga teacher previously is not that great of a paying job. So, just kind of always figuring out how to monetize what it is that I do. And that's definitely something I'm figuring out as a content creator specifically of like, how can I turn this into more of a business than a like little side hustle? So I feel like that's kind of always evolving and figuring it out as I go.
Totally true. That's so cool. Thank you. Thank you so much for that. I think that resonates definitely with anyone that's building a business right now. It's all such good reminders. You aspire to help your audience get in touch with their authentic self. What's your biggest piece of advice for actually achieving this?
Great question. And it's not like I have some like soundbite perfect thing or like a listicle for it. I think similar to, not to like harp on yoga, it's so much of yoga to me is also like pausing and listening to your body and like what it is that you need, not like what that person next to you needs or what that person demoing on Zoom needs, but like what it is that you need. And I think in life, it is exactly the same thing, and not just reading this self-help book because it's like what everyone is recommending, or like going to this fitness class because it's what that fitness blogger recommended, but like pausing and being like, no, like what do I want to do? What do I want to achieve? So for me, so much of it is just like giving yourself that permission to, I would say you do you in my yoga classes. And I feel that way about life as well. Like as a blogger, I'm like never going to be a trendy, cool fitness blogger. Like I really just want to wear yoga pants all day, every day. And when it comes to books, I'm always going to be recommending like cheesy romances and what I lovingly call trash, essentially. And you just have to be shamelessly you and just be like, you know what, this is what I like. And if other people are going to have their opinion on it, that's great. But like, you have to follow what works for you. And when you follow it, oh my God, it's just like so much happier. And for me, my word of 2021 is joy, and like following the things that bring me joy, give me joy. And it's like, oh yeah, when you like actually follow that joy, it makes such a difference as opposed to reading this book because it's what people are telling you to read or taking that fitness class. So you do you, and don't be afraid to follow that intuition. And if you're struggling to get in touch with that intuition, pause, ask yourself, evaluate all the stuff we've been saying this whole chat so far.
Oh, I love you so much. Your advice is impeccable. It's so good. I think too, though, as content creators, I think a lot of people would relate as well, especially even if you're just like running a business, running a small business and marketing yourself on social media. Everyone is literally doing the same thing. So many people are doing the same thing. Everyone is like a robot carbon copy of someone that got popular doing the same thing. And they're like, okay, let me just take the same photo or be the same vibe or dress the same.
Mhm.
And it's kind of nuts. It's like really crazy. And social media kind of like really enables us to see what other people are doing on a deep level
Mhm.
and really copy people. And it's funny because I love that about you. I love your ability to see beyond it and to assess if it is for you before just following. And I think that, even the people that we have on the show, they similarly have been able to, maybe they've tried doing what everyone else did. And they realized that as soon as they started doing their authentic thing, that's when the right people noticed them. The people that were going to work for them
Mhm.
saw. And I think that that's so important too, because in today's day and age, you want followers, you want an audience, you want to be able to monetize, you want to grow your channels. And I think that what you say is so important to us. And it's a good reminder. You don't just want anyone,
Mhm.
you want the people who are going to be the best for your community.
Yeah.
So yeah, maybe not doing the trendiest thing or buying the trendiest thing or creating the viral trendy photo. Maybe
Mhm.
that's not going to get you those people that like that, but when you share what you like, you're going to hit people that also like what you like and
It's
like.
so true.
Yeah.
Yeah. And I think it's also more fun, if I'm gonna be honest. I've been thinking a lot of that with content creation in Instagram, which like I'll be the first to say I feel like I have a love-hate relationship with Instagram as far as like the algorithms against me and like frustrations and this and that. And when instead of being so focused on like, let me copy this exact formula that someone else like figured out, when instead you're just like, you know what, I'm just gonna have fun with it and like be my authentic, weird self. Oftentimes that is what actually sticks for me. Like, I personally am really into reels because I think it gives me a chance to like, I don't know, be my full weird self and like get back to that theater kid that's inside of me. And I find that to feel more authentic than like I'm just like I'm not going to pretend I'm a model type person on Instagram. That's just like not who I am. I'm not a yoga teacher that has like cool things to show off. That's not who I am. But who I am is like a slightly ridiculous human who like has a weird sense of humor and is very performative. So it's like cool. Like I figure that out and I have a lot of fun filming them and doing them. So if they bomb, I'm like, whatever. I obviously want them to do well, but like I had fun doing it and it is no doubt me. So if someone sees it, they're like, oh yeah, that's like who she is and how she is. So I think it's like good to remember that it's also just so much more fun. It can be really hard to silence that noise, especially in social media, as you were saying, when like you can constantly see what other people are doing and not just doing, but potentially like succeeding doing. But if you like focus on being yourself and having fun with it, I feel like it makes such a difference and makes it just a more enjoyable experience.
Oh, I completely agree with you so much. I just like wish that we could talk about this all day long because it really is so true. We had Lindsay Somer on the show a
Yes,
couple
it
of
was a
weeks
great
back.
episode. She's amazing.
Oh, you listened to
I
it?
did.
Oh,
She's amazing.
right.
She's
And
so
I
much
and
younger than me and so much like smarter than
no,
me.
no, but don't say that. But she's a super cool girl.
Yeah.
But it was a similar message and and what you're saying did remind me because she did mention, I mean, she's super cute and she definitely has that vibe where she can post just a picture of her face and get like a ton of followers. She's beautiful, but she did say that, that wasn't what set her apart. She was stagnant
Yeah.
when she was doing that. She wasn't growing past 17K, and it took her bringing what she was able to compete into the table in order to grow. She did not grow until she started doing creative design tutorials
Hmm.
on Instagram.
Yeah, it's so true.
What advice can you give someone who's looking to establish their own brand and grow a business?
My biggest piece of advice is always whether it's you want to start a blog or you're a yoga teacher and you're looking to start teaching, is to simply just start. I think for so many of us, we wait and wait and wait until we have the like perfect blog design or the perfect pictures for Instagram, or we've like really, really practiced our yoga sequence. And you can wait and wait all you want, but like it's still going to be terrifying when you do these things for the first time and you're never going to feel ready or prepared. I've been teaching yoga for 5 years, and every time I teach, I'm still like, do I know what I'm doing? Like, I think so. Here we go. I don't know. Um, you just have to start. And I think for so many people, they get stuck in that like prep phase. I know I'm definitely guilty of it for things that I want to launch and do. I'm sure for you at the podcast, it was that like, okay, like I need to find the perfect theme song. And now I need to like get the guest and like figure it all out. But like one day you had to just say, like, I'm just going to do it and figure it out. And as with any of us, I know for me, when I first started blogging, like I didn't know what I was doing. I didn't know what SEO was. There was no Instagram to promote my blog on at that point, or social media marketing was like not really a thing then. So you just have to kind of tell yourself, like, you know what, I'm going to start. My writing might be crap. I might not be like the most strategic about it. My teaching might be shaky, but like I'm doing it and I can only go up and get better from there. So my biggest piece of advice, whatever it is to like just start, and then you'll figure it out and you'll get better and you'll continue to grow from there.
I love that. I love it so much. And it's so super true. I mean, obviously so true. It's something that I also tell my new real estate agents when they come and work with me. And, it's daunting. It's a lot that you want to know up front. And I do tell them, I say, you have to get out there. You just got to get out there and you got to get started and you got to go.
Yeah.
And you're gonna learn as you go, and that's really how you're gonna become great, by doing. You're gonna become great by doing. I wish that we didn't have to wrap up. I know we're pressed for time, but could you share with our audience your Instagram handle again? Share out your website. Let them know what they can find on your website and any place you would like to tell them to go visit.
Yes. So I'm on Instagram a lot. It is my name at Kayla Kleinman, KaylaKleinman. People sometimes get confused, but Klein like Calvin Klein, essentially. My blog is Kayla in the City. I have 9 years of content there, so there is a whole lot to sift through, but it is a lot of kind of wellness inspired lifestyle content, essentially. So like reviewing the best yoga pants, talking about the biker shorts I'm obsessed with right now. I also share everything that I read there. So a lot of book recommendations. And if you're more into like fitness stuff, there's tons of class reviews and fitness tips as well. As a yoga teacher, I am teaching classes on Zoom and would absolutely love to have you. As I said, yoga for people that hate yoga. My classes always have fun themes and are very big on listening to your body, adjusting the practice. They're also 50 minutes long, so try to keep it short and sweet. Also, last but definitely not least, on May 12th, I am hosting a big birthday fundraiser class. Last year I did this as well. I'm turning 31 this year, so why not host a party for myself during the pandemic? So it will be a yoga sculpt class. All the music will just be like cheesy fun music that I love. So probably some show tunes, 90s, divas, all of the works. All of the money collected will go to Our Food NYC, which helps organize community fridges, which are places where anyone can actually go drop off food, and those who are in need of food, whatever their situation may be, can go get food at these various locations. So all money donated is going to go to Our Food. Once again, that is May 12th, 7 p.m. on Zoom. You can find all that info on the blog as well. Super excited for it. Last year we raised, I think it was like $1,200, something ridiculous like that. So hoping to collect something close to that as well this year. So even though you don't know me, come celebrate my birthday with me. I would love to have you.
Oh my God, that's so cool. I can't wait. So tell us, oh my God, I'm so excited. I can't wait for that. Does it cost money to join the Zoom, or is it going to be like a donation collected while you're in there?
Yeah, so for my regular Zoom classes, $12 a class. For the donation-based one, I suggested donation of $6. It's my lucky number, so just as a place to start. But I encourage you to pay what you can, whether it's six, whether it's a lot more, whatever it is, and then all that money will get donated. So you can sign up for it kind of similar to that you would at any fitness studio. There's like a whole how to sign up on my website.
Amazing. Okay, I'm going to provide all the links for that. That's so cool. I love
Yes,
it.
I'm excited. I just announced it the night before we're recording this, so I'm like, oh my God, it's happening. Like I'm actually doing it, putting myself out there as we've talked about.
So cool and so true. And we will be there. We will be there to support you. That is what this community is about. That is what we do. You are going to have New York and Beyond listeners joining you on this. Guys, I completely encourage you. If you are listening right now, this is your time to step up as a New York and Beyond community member. This is what we are doing. We are supporting each other. We are leveling up in every way. You are going to be joining. We're going to be on this. We're going to join. We're going to join. Do you need to turn your video on?
No. If you want to, sure, fine. I'll probably like tell you that your squats look really cute, but like no pressure.
What do people usually do? Is it like half and half? Like is everyone's video on?
It depends. I feel like for my typical yoga crew, a lot of them like having their camera on because it kind of feels like this weird almost like accountability. Like I know for me, when I take fitness classes, a lot of the times I like it because otherwise I'll just be there being like, no, I'm not going to do that.
I'm gonna take a break or something.
But I know everyone has different levels of comfort. So to me, I always tell people like, you do you, as with anything. If you feel more comfortable without your camera on, you can turn your camera off. If you want to have your camera on, have it on. I'm never going to like scream at someone or like say mean things. Typically, the only thing I'll say is like, something nice.
Yeah.
I try to make it like a fun community event. So maybe that for you is showing up in the chat and commentating, but of course, no pressure. If people want to have their cameras off, I totally respect that and get that. Like for some of us, it's like, yeah, no, not for me.
Okay, I will be there and I'm encouraging our audience to join. This is, again, guys, this is what we do. We support each other here. That's the whole point of us growing together. The one thing I haven't done yet since the craziness of 2020, I have not worked out on video. That is the one thing I've not
now's
done.
the time. I mean,
Now's the time.
I love Zoom workouts. So for me, they've been my like sanity this whole year. So I'm happy to pay it forward as well and provide them.
Yeah, totally. As long as like everyone's in the same boat, I'm fine.
Oh yeah.
I'll get over it.
I mean, when I'm teaching, I'm like, I'm a hot mess, especially for sculpt, which is like yoga fused with cardio and strength training. So like I'm a mess as well. So like it is a judgment-free zone for sure.
Amazing. What day of the week is May 12th? I'm checking now.
Wednesday.
It's a Wednesday, guys. You're not doing anything.
No.
7:00. This is
Still
our plan.
pandemic.
This is our plan. Okay, cool. Amazing. All right. All the links will be in the description. Everybody check it out. Kayla, you're so awesome. You're so real. We love you. You're so down to earth. You're you. You're yourself. You are like the ultimate friend. I feel like you are just so nice, so down to earth. Obsessed with you. Love you so much.
Thank you.
I can't wait to
Thank
meet
you so
you in
much for
person.
having me. Yes, I
cannot
know.
wait to meet you in person.
For sure.
Thank you so much for being with us today. We completely appreciate your time. Thank you so much for all the wisdom that you've imparted on us. We love you.
Thank you. Thank you for having me.
How cool is Kayla, guys? I'm so glad that I was able to bring her to you. She truly embodies the mission of New York and beyond, which is to keep leveling up, stay inspired, stay creative, do things differently, and be our best selves. Thank you guys again so much for being here. Do not forget to subscribe if you enjoy this content. Don't forget that this is a podcast as well as a YouTube channel. So every single episode is available with video, visuals, as well as the podcast for listening on the go. Please leave your comments. You can always contact me anytime. If you have an idea of who you would like for me to have on the show, feel free to send it over. All of my contact info is always in the description of these episodes. Thank you guys so much again, and I will see you next week.